I was never much of an art person, but I got a Jahreskarte for the Kunsthistorisches Museum here in Vienna for a university course, so I thought I should try to make use of it in the last months before it ran out, as it was quite likely that I wouldn't return for some time. In the past few months before it expired, I came to spend several days a week in museums, absorbing as much as I could before the time ran out in September. And I actually found myself learning to enjoy art. It was something I certainly couldn't understand, but could certainly appreciate, like most other casual museum goers. Vienna is a feast of visual arts of sorts, and it was fitting that I found myself returning for a visit to the museum on Thanksgiving. The city has a rich history of art and a vibrant art scene, and its most opulent collection is housed in the Kunsthistorische Museum. Vienna itself is the stomping grounds for numerous incredible painters, artists like Gustav Klimt in Friedensreich Hundertwasser and Oskar Kokoschka, and it also has a rich and vibrant contemporary art scene. But there's another aspect of the painting scene here in Vienna that one doesn't have to seek out in a museum. Perhaps it's not suited for the collection of the Habsburgs by most standards, but it's the street art. Though it's not a symbol of or a product of affluence, it certainly enriches our everyday lives here in Vienna. Street art and graffiti are not overwhelmingly accepted, especially evidenced in instances such as the recent conviction of the infamous Puber, who may spend as many as 14 months in prison in retribution for the hundreds of tags he distributed throughout the city. However, I think there is something more to this art form. I was initially very critical of this blatant self-promotion of graffiti artists, quote unquote, like Puber, that largely seemed to be a detriment to society. It was art that cost only the tax dollars spent on its own removal. But recently, my perception has changed drastically. But it wasn't until I was struck by this arresting fish huntress at the Brunnenmarkt that I began to question my assumption about what actually serves to enrich our city. Vienna itself is a rich environment for street artists, namely because it was previously akin to something of a Champions League, according to graffiti artists I spoke with, due to the ease of tagging trains, as can be seen in some of the defunct trains like the ones sitting in the old U-Bahn yard in the 11th district or at the Westbahnhof. But it's largely that there are legal opportunities here for street artists, namely the Graffiti Hall of Fame along the Donau Canal that offers open painting for artists where they don't have to run from the police. Ultimately, Vienna has a great feast to offer for both the rich and poor. And although one can find fulfillment in the art out on the streets for free, and despite the fact that I'm broke, in the end, I decided to go for the best of both worlds and spring for the Jahreskarte again for another year. Besides, that's what my food budget is for.